So, K-pop fatigue. It's a thing, and it's something I felt in 2024, and now I'm observing as a community-wide phenomenon in the last couple of months. There's a lot about the genre of K-pop that is stressful to deal with, even without getting into the more serious topics. I would never affront anyone for taking breaks or leaving the hobby entirely just because of how uniquely tiring it can be. Without proper safeguards and boundaries, doubly true if you're on the younger side, it can be super damaging to you. K-pop is a medium of contradictions. It is simultaneously fun, depressing, inspiring, demoralizing, insanely exhilarating, and severely draining all at the same time. To constantly be in the rat race that is K-pop is a horrible experience and something that I would highly discourage. But I promise that this video will not just be shitting on K-pop indiscriminately. I know that there is a habit of K-pop stans who've had bad experiences to jump ship and have a need to communicate that with everyone around them. But take comfort in the fact that if I had truly abandoned this genre, I would not be making this video right now. Today, I just thought it would be cool to talk about my personal journey with K-pop and how I essentially spedrun what I will be calling the K-pop experience. Maybe this will help others who are sorting out their own relationship with K-pop because of recent events, or maybe you just want to put something on in the background while doing other stuff. Either way is fine with me. So, in about the span of a year, I found myself obsessed, demystified, resentful, and circling all the way back to a detached appreciation of K-pop. That is all it took for me to get sucked into K-pop and get spit right back out with more resentment towards the genre than I truly knew what to do with. A feeling that isn't a rare one, it would seem. I just finished watching Taeju's video, if you couldn't tell. As recently as January, I found myself questioning whether I wanted to continue K-pop as a hobby. Now, while that may not be surprising to you, it certainly was to me, because not even a year before that, I had made an intentional choice to go deeper into the genre. I have been a fan of Stray Kids since basically debut, but I never branched out beyond them. Truthfully, I didn't really care to broaden my horizons given how already busy I was at the time. Of course, I was kind of privy to things through the grapevine, but I truly didn't engage with the genre until 2024. And you can absolutely see that in the progression of my videos, starting from this budding fascination and then its slow, demoralizing death. To put it into perspective, my first upload on this channel was about a topic that had already been debated to death in K-pop circles, that of minors in K-pop and why extremes won't get us anywhere. I was discussing, oh my god, sorry, I just realized my first video was about Kiss of Life. Oh, how things have changed. Anyway, I was trying to discuss how labeling a freshly turned 18-year-old as grown and mature was counterintuitive to the change fans wanted to see in the industry. People were really excited to see a group that had debuted all adults and were praising them in such a way that depicted Hanol, the maknae, an 18-year-old, as being grown, which I had a problem with for obvious reasons. I came in wide-eyed and fresh-faced into that. I imagine that seasoned K-pop fans watched that video thinking, first time? And then came commentary videos, and then reviews, and then analysis, and then eventually drama. From the outside, that probably looked like growth, maybe even confidence in my opinions, branching out and trying to make my mark in this space. And that was partly true. But what was also true was that the deeper that I went, the more tired I became. 2024 was a roller coaster that I was begging to get off of by the end. The highs were high, but the lows were devastatingly low. What followed was burnout, emotional, mental, even physical, because K-pop doesn't really let you rest. There's always a comeback, always a teaser, always a controversy, and it just gets exhausting to keep up, especially when every day felt like a new round of slop to scarf down. This was, I will admit, partially my fault. I am something of a maximizer. When I find something new to dig my teeth into, I kinda go crazy. I want to know everything there is to know about whatever new interest I have, and truly that had never gone so wrong for me before. Not to mention that before K-pop, I was never really into pop music or pop culture. Like every wave that I was kinda at the perfect time and place for just kinda passed me by. I really don't even know why in retrospect. I'm talking Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus, One Direction, Fifth Harmony, and yes, even BTS. For whatever reason, my YouTube feed opted to recommend me Stray Kids instead, and the rest was history. Although in retrospect, that was probably for the best. Knowing myself, I would not have responded favorably to the flagrant pastel colors they sported at the time. Anyway, circling back to that maximizer thing I was talking about. I said it at the time, and I've referred to it every so often since, was that I was trying to make a video at the time reviewing every K-pop release of 2024, and it spiritually killed me. But honestly, if it really had just been that, if it was just my own eagerness in trying to explore this genre, I don't think that I would have fell out of love with K-pop as hard as I did, because truly nothing else exhausted me more than the fandoms, than K-pop fandoms. Because yes, bad things happen in K-pop with specific groups and idols, and I would never try to ignore that in any way, but something that was so soul-crushing in a way that I hadn't really experienced before was the way that people were willing to defend the horrible things going on. Or they would try to advocate for the nothing drama that just kind of happened out of nowhere. It's just truly never ending. It's arguments over stage outfits, or people writing dissertations because a member blinked too much or not enough. And then, of course, there are the genuinely serious issues, like companies mistreating their groups, exploitation, racism, and even those, people treat it like it was part of an entertainment cycle. Like, trust me, I don't want to keep bringing this up. This is not like a reoccurring thing I want on my channel, but that shit with Kiss of Life, it was such an eye-opener because in the moment, the response to what had happened was honestly, I was kind of happy. I was like, oh, okay, like everyone seems to be having the appropriate reaction to what is happening in front of us. And yes, I did make a video about it at the time, saying how fucked up it was, also talking about the people who were strangely defending them. But it seems like now, even months later, you kind of see the seeds being sown of people forgiving them. Which, again, like I mentioned in the video, I don't think is totally out of the realm of possibility, but like, nothing's changed. It truly just feels like people who wanted to support them, but didn't feel comfortable to do it at the time, were just waiting for a long enough time to pass so they could subtly start supporting the group again without fear of judgment from other fandoms. But I'm not gonna pretend to be obtuse. I'm not gonna pretend like we haven't seen this happen before. I'm gonna refer to some examples now, so buckle up. Number one, I have been seeing, again, people retroactively talking about a situation which was undeniably fucked up, but almost softening the blow of it and its impact. Chaeyoung with the shirt. Honestly, I don't know if I can get away with it on YouTube actually saying what was on the shirt, but come on now, you know what I'm talking about. Irene with the stylist, and before anybody gets it twisted, I am more than willing to call out my own faves. Bangchan with the cornrows. Like, I have seen a sizable amount of these specific fandoms looking back on these situations where these idols were undeniably in the wrong for whatever they did. And don't get me wrong, these are varying levels. I'm not trying to put them on the same level of severity. I am saying that the reaction to all three of them should not be the same. But there shouldn't be an effort from fandoms to covertly change the narratives and place the blame of their idols' actions on others or absolve it completely. I know that personally when it comes to Bangchan, just because, again, I'm most familiar with Stray Kids, I know that personally with Bangchan, there's this running joke about how good he looked with the hairstyle and yada yada. A lot of that is played sarcastically, and also for irony. But the issue with jokes like these is that outsiders not part of the joke, or new fans who weren't there when it happened, might take people's lightheartedness towards the situation at face value and actually believe that he wasn't in the wrong for doing that. But also, there's just people straight up defending him for doing that, which don't do that. Not for a guy that doesn't even know you. He was undoubtedly wrong in this situation. All of this to say is that I've never encountered communities that were so simultaneously, like, intense, defensive, hypocritical, and exhausting. And I have been a part of so many fandoms. It's not like I'm new to fandom spaces. I was there before 2020. Games, books, TV shows, you name it. I was probably there. But nothing compares to how soul-crushing the K-pop community can be. Something that I'll concede is that fandom spaces in general were in decline after 2020. I know, not a unique take. So maybe the K-pop fandom was better before then, I can't say. But compared to like all the fandom experiences I've had in my life, K-pop is just a different beast. And it genuinely feels like there are moments where no one in the space even likes K-pop. They just like arguing about it. And that's truly how I felt before I mentioned how when I eventually did start making videos again, because spoiler, this video doesn't end with me hating K-pop for all of eternity. I know that's what it sounds like right now, but I did eventually come back around to it. And when I did, I didn't want to indulge, enable, and partake in all of the things that I didn't like about it. Like, as corny and cheesy as it is, be the change you want to see in the world. So while I did have negative opinions and experiences about some releases this year, I didn't really pay as much attention to it, and I mostly stayed focused on the things that I did like about K-pop this year. And I won't even say that that was necessarily the correct answer, nor am I saying that I will never make a negative video ever again. But making more anecdotal videos and more personal videos was my way of salving my own relationship with K-pop, and to do more than just add to the constant slog of shit talking. People love to talk about how the K-pop community used to be, how more fun and lighthearted and good-natured it was. And if you would allow me to interject as someone who wasn't present for that, I think that it's not that way now, because most people aren't really focusing on what they appreciate about the genre anymore. It's much more about how much mud you can throw at the groups you hate. I stand by the negative opinions that I've had about album releases, reviews, whatever else. It's not like I suddenly grew to love everything that came out of K-pop, but I was like, maybe I don't need to put so much attention on the things that I don't like. But I think that this also came back to bite me in the ass, because I do read the comments, right? I'm not exactly the best at responding and liking and all of that kind of stuff, but I do read them. And I've just noticed that if you're too nice about something, you're accused of favoritism. If you offer even a mild criticism, you're a hater. And if you stay neutral, you're spineless. Like, it doesn't really matter how you act, you are always somehow at fault. And truly, at the time, I couldn't tune it out. I still can't tune it out now. Because while I do agree that I was maybe partaking in some conversations that wasn't beneficial to the overall space of K-pop, or maybe I did indulge in some clickbait from time to time, I did avoid direct confrontation. I didn't make videos specifically just to piss people off. And even doing that, you can't avoid it. You truly cannot avoid it. Even now, when I've kind of withdrawn myself and I'm trying to contribute to K-pop fandom space in the most positive way that I can, you truly just can't avoid it, because people are constantly baiting each other with bad faith takes, and any general disagreement about something is taken as an affront. And the worst part of it all was that it started to affect how I saw Stray Kids, my alt group. I never expected to get to a place where I didn't want to see them on my feed, like, at all. Not because of them specifically or even their music, but because I just couldn't deal with the environment surrounding them. And I think you can also see this on my channel. Maybe not necessarily a video, but I did make a community post commenting on how much Stayville had changed, which, again, not surprised. It tends to happen with larger fandoms, but it morphed in such a way that I truly didn't expect, which is to say that it's grown hostile to LGBT people, which is still crazy to me. And at the risk of just repeating what I said in the post, but being a stay at one point in time came with the implication of either being a part of that community or being an ally. And that just can't be said anymore, which is so sad. And even going beyond that, I've encountered people in real life who like K-pop. I know, I touch grass, it's crazy. And as we get to talking about K-pop, we talk about our favorite groups, obviously. And I mention that Stray Kids is my alt group. And people will admit to me that they actually enjoy Stray Kids music, but refuse to call themselves fans because of the reputation that stays have garnered over the years. And I don't resent those people. I'm not mad at those people. I completely understand where they're coming from. Obviously, I never want to paint fandoms as monoliths. I've said that before. I have plenty of stay friends who will stand by what a stay meant one point in time, but more often than not, their voices get drowned out. And I realized that I wasn't enjoying any of it anymore. Not the updates, not the music, not even the comfort I used to feel when I watched like variety shows. So I stepped back. I stopped listening to their music. I stopped watching their content. And for the first time since they debuted, I didn't just lose interest naturally. Like if I happened to be busy or if I just wasn't into the music that particular comeback, I just actively avoided them. And that broke my heart because Stray Kids has always been a group that I've turned to when life got hard, and I just needed something inspiring to get me back on my feet. I would never say that like Stray Kids saved my life or something. I think that's a little exaggeratory. I think that they gave me the inspiration I needed to pull myself up, to get myself back on my feet. So when I started to like disassociate from my alt group, I mean, truly, what did the other groups that I just casually listened to have a chance? When even Stray Kids stopped connecting with me, I just thought, maybe I'm done. Maybe K-pop isn't something I want in my life anymore. And the thing that changed that was aespa. I know, you weren't expecting the video to take this turn, but it has, and now you're here for the ride. But honestly, it's not for the reason that you think. And it wasn't some sudden discovery of their discography. I've always liked aespa's music. I didn't just wake up one day and realized, wow, they're actually good or something. I already knew they were good. aespa has always existed on the edge of my radar, close enough that I've kept up with their releases, far enough that I didn't really follow them beyond that. The more I watched aespa, the more I relaxed. Not because their content was especially good or anything, it is, but because there was no weight attached to it at the time. I didn't follow them deeply enough to know the ins and outs of fandom drama. I wasn't burdened by online discourse. I didn't have a stake in defending or debating their artistry. I was just watching 4 talented idols do their job and do it well. And for the first time in months, I was having fun. With aespa, I just let myself enjoy things for like the first time in a long time. I liked the songs, I liked their singing, I liked the looks, I liked the dancing, and that was enough. I wouldn't really categorize them as a distraction, but perhaps like a gateway back into the genre. I do want to be super clear, they weren't like a substitute for Stray Kids or anything. I wasn't rebounding with aespa on Stray Kids, that's not what was happening. aespa just reminded me for a short while what it meant and what it felt like to just enjoy K-pop again. And little by little, that's kind of what made me listen to Stray Kids again. And not because aespa filled the same space. They didn't. And that's not anything against them. I don't want anyone to take it that way. It's just that like 8 long years I followed this group. It has like an emotional hold on me at this point. Is that kind of parasocial? Maybe. I won't deny that, but what they did do was just kind of clear out all of the noise that I had accidentally built around the genre. And yet, they're the reason that I started untangling what was actually bothering me. Because as I sat there, after a couple months of not engaging with Stray Kids for the first time in years, and it was then that I realized that I had never really let myself become a fan of aespa. Like I said, I was always aware of their presence in K-pop. It's kind of hard to ignore them. I don't even know how you would do that. But truly, I restrained myself from going any further. And it's not because I had any kind of, sentiments towards the girls themselves, but honestly because I was afraid of what came with it. I knew that getting into aespa again would mean getting into discourse, infighting, the constant need to defend or distance yourself from your own fandom, the pressure to explain why you like a group without being misread or misrepresented, and that fear had become so normalized for me that I didn't even notice it anymore. And like I mentioned before, this is where I had the realization, where it really clicked for me. I was exactly like the people who refused to call themselves stays. I liked aespa. I like aespa a lot. but I refused to call myself a Mai. I did not want to be associated with them, and I don't think it's any mystery why. The fandom, has a lot of issues. It has issues with reacting to what the members themselves do. It has issues with commentary made about the group and their music, and a true defensiveness and toxicity that kind of permeates all groups once they get to a certain size. So yeah, it wasn't like some dramatic turning point or life-changing message that brought me back to K-pop. It was just aespa doing what they do, singing, dancing, serving face, and unknowingly giving me a piece of myself back. Because this industry, this culture, isn't built to be consumed at full speed. It looks like it is. There's always more content, more groups, more idols to stan. But the second you engage with it more than just with a casual attitude is where it really starts to drain you. And so now I've kind of returned to K-pop with a more chilled attitude. I pay attention to the groups that I like and really nothing else beyond that. But I'm also okay with that. I don't really feel sad or as if I'm grieving a part of myself anymore. I feel like the distance I have to K-pop now is much more manageable and honestly a lot healthier. And this whole personal story that I've narrated throughout illustrates this K-pop experience I referred to in the beginning of the video. I know, you probably didn't think it was going to take the whole video to circle back to it, but shows what you know. So from start to finish, we covered the discovery phase, obviously, the honeymoon phase, the ride or die phase, the burnout phase, the disillusionment phase, and of course the detached phase. I feel like all of that is pretty self-explanatory. But before I leave you with this video, I do feel as though there is something I want to comment on, because I know that a part of this video and part of what got me back into K-pop was this kind of nonchalance to the context surrounding aespa, which is fine when it comes to like harmless nonsense drama, but it's not great when it comes to the big stuff, the more serious stuff. At the risk of sounding like a hypocrite, to consume K-pop completely uncritically is not the solution. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's a terrible thing to consume anything uncritically, even as tempting as that might sound. The answer isn't to shut your brain off entirely, just like it isn't to drown in the discourse until you hate everything. It's about balance, like most things. It's about recognizing that you don't owe anyone your blind loyalty, but you also don't have to abandon something you love when admittedly things do get tough. So if you are feeling that fatigue, take a break. Remember that even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes, K-pop is supposed to be fun. And if it's not that anymore, don't feel guilty about stepping away. Permanently, even, if that's what it takes. Most people, myself included, got into K-pop to get away from the stresses of everyday life. And if it's not serving you in that way anymore, you have no obligation to stick around. Please, 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 do not waste your time on things that do not serve you. Anyway, that'll be it from me for now. See y'all later. Bye-bye!